All right, so this is a suggestion via a channel member. Let's jump into it, guys. Let's do it.
You know, it's like another shooting by ICE agents in Minneapolis has led to more demonstrations in a city that is already on the edge. Mayor Jacob Frey weighed in on the events yesterday. Take a look.
This is an impossible situation that our city is presently being put in. We have ICE agents throughout our city and throughout our state who, along with border control, are creating chaos. I've seen conduct from ICE that is disgusting and is intolerable.
Right.
If it were your city, it would be unacceptable there too. And for anyone that is taking...
But the people that are basically being taken out of the state specifically from all their super heinous criminal activities, those are fine though, right? Not the ones who were put into the position to be able to withdraw the people that are here, either sucking off of our infrastructure, overall government entitlements, and or the ones that have already been convicted within their home countries of all types of super heinous things, and they have ran from their country to ours. Okay, those people are fine, but not the ones who were. Okay.
The bait tonight.
I'm trying to grasp it.
Stop. You are not helping the undocumented immigrants in our city. You are not helping the people that call this place home. I'm calling for peace. Everybody has a role in achieving that peace.
So this morning, you know who posted that he may invoke the Insurrection Act to end the protests, which would let him deploy the military in Minneapolis. Now, I thought he had already done that. Because I've seen, it's the National Guard.
You know what, we could have used that Insurrection Act.
Well, yes, but funny.
Yeah.
Well, I just find it so odd because you've already made everybody feel like you've put the military out there because, you know, you've bypassed the police, you've bypassed people whose jobs it is to take care of their cities. So you're adding fuel. My question is supposed to be, do you think he's adding fuel to the fire? I think he is.
He would if he invoked the Insurrection Act. And I think people should, that would be militarizing the state. And U.S. military aren't trained to provide local law enforcement. And so that's just a tinderbox waiting to explode.
Okay, but yeah, understand this here. Let's not conflate the idea of martial law, right? And overall utilizing the Insurrection Act. I mean, Sunny should be smarter than this here. But obviously within her own specific bias, she refuses to actually acknowledge the fact that the local police will still be there, right? He's not specifically attempting to kind of withdraw them. He's just simply saying your local government is doing legitimately nothing to stop these protests, okay? Nothing. There can be no diplomacy between the federal government and Minnesota because Tim Walz is refusing any type of anything. In fact, Tim Walz started to, set up the National Guard specifically against the federal agents. Okay, so we cannot go through the idea of diplomacy. We've already tried federal police there. Okay, that's not working. Look at the riots completely exploding. Tim Walz and the mayor of Minneapolis is also not trying to do anything here to fix anything. So what is left, guys? I mean, I feel like we're having like a circular conversation these days here, right? If none of the other checks are being allowed to be done specifically, then what is left to do? All right, like I agree. I don't like the idea of the Insurrection Act. I'm telling you this right now. I don't like the idea of it. But if we've already gone through the other two of the three avenues, what's left? The governor is not trying to stop these protests. There could be no diplomacy because Congress is not going to side with anything Trump's doing. They're going to completely side with the protesters. So with that being said, what's left for the president of the United States of America to do? Okay. Let the city fall?
And I also think it would be much more difficult legally to challenge their actions in court if the Insurrection Act was invoked. And so that really frightens me, actually, for the people of not only Minneapolis and Minnesota, but the people in all states in every country, because he could do that anywhere.
Yeah, but he owns everything. He owns the Department of Justice.
Yes.
It's almost
He
like you
owns
say
it.
we're not
Really,
alone.
really,
And yet
Joy.
I feel very much alone.
It does feel
sometimes.
like it's his own private law firm, which is not supposed to happen. There's supposed to be checks and balances. But I'll also say this, you know, what's giving me some hope is that there's a federal judge.
Guys, what happens when the checks and balances are corrupt, though? What happens then? Because that's basically what we're experiencing right now.
But I'll also say this, you know, What's giving me some hope is that there's a federal judge on the cusp of ruling, of a ruling that could really sharply curtail ICE's ability to push back on protests and make arrests of demonstrators and perhaps prevent what we saw with Mrs. Good. It's U.S. District Judge Kate Menendez. She's going to rule on whether to restrict ICE's use of non-lethal force, stops of motorists who tail ICE vehicles, and arrests of people obeying police perimeters. So that's something that I'm watching very closely, because if she curtails ICE's, use of force, I think perhaps Minnesota will things will be de-escalated
Really?
there.
Okay, so she's basically begging
think
for
it
an
will.
Is that
activist
hope springing
judge.
eternal?
It's all I have right
I
now.
don't trust him.
I think the most important thing in this moment is that there's de-escalation, that we keep peace in the streets. And Governor Walz said about a week ago that he has the Minnesota National Guard on standby. So they're prepared to deploy in case these altercations between protesters and ICE keep getting more violent and it's necessary. And I think this is a prudent action by the governor, who received a lot of criticism after 2020 during the George Floyd protests for waiting for too long to call in the National Guard. Now, the state National Guard is very, very, very different than federalizing U.S. troops and putting them into American streets. I see the Insurrection Act as the most extreme step that a president could take to deal with quelling domestic protests. The last time I believe it was used was during the Rodney King protests in 1992. President Trump, I've said this before, he talked about doing it in the summer of 2020, was ultimately talked out of it by General Milley, Mark Esper, and others, and it was a good thing, because what happens is this. So say Governor Walz has the Minnesota National Guard, who are there to make sure protesters aren't getting injured and ICE officers aren't getting injured. Then you bring in a federalized force that answers to the federal government. You could have tremendous clashes. You could have a lot of confusion about authority, and it makes this tinderbox situation even more dangerous.
I will say, and that's kind of my concern here. Again, you have never heard me ever mention or back the idea of the Insurrection Act being used, even though it could have probably been used a couple of times here, right? But I'm not going to sit here and back the idea of it, because things get very spicy when you allow the Marines and the active duty Army specifically to come into your area here. All right, so obviously the Insurrection Act can definitely kind of utilize the National Guard, but again, we've had issues with that specific process to the point where we've decided to start putting in actual troops, right? Now, these guys here may not specifically know how to properly, let's say, crowd control American citizens, not, third world, fourth world, I'm not going to explain that, but you get what I'm saying here, hopefully. All right. They may not know how to, deal with the people a little differently. Let's just say this here. So that's a problem. And that's a thing that has always specifically scared me when it came down to utilizing the Insurrection Act in any meaningful manner. But again, based off of what we know right now here, all of them are basically in promotion of waiting things out, getting more time, doing all these super irrelevant things that are not actually meaningful to the actual area. They want to buy time for what reason? They're basically all waiting on some random activist judge to kind of rule against the America. Basically, this is wild. Bro.
I feel like that's what he wants.
Yep.
Well, it is, and that's what the mayor is referencing. He said we cannot meet Donald Trump's chaos with our own version of chaos. He said, be peaceful, don't take the bait. And he quoted that in there. And he's saying, don't give them any excuse to raise their weapons, to attack you. And it's really the heart of the civil rights movement, though. And I think that's so important right now, is Dr. King, the day is coming up, was so adamant about do not give them an excuse. Don't do anything to obstruct them, to resist them, because right now they have the backing of this administration. And Stephen Miller, there was a quote that was just reposted or shared by the DHS from last fall that said these ICE agents have federal immunity, which is actually not true. Yeah. But it actually is showing the cards of how this administration views them. And so knowing that part, it's more important than ever to be part of bringing that temperature down.
But here's the thing: when we talk about the protests of the '60s, our folks knew that no matter what we did, they were going to come for us anyway. Yeah. And that's the situation I feel is here. I don't feel like people are exacerbating the situation. I feel like people
they're going to be at fault
no
matter what.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
And so because of that, I
you're
worry.
a victim.
I mean, to me, I'm really glad that people have been doing it the right way. Because had people gone in a different direction, this is a whole different story. This is a whole different conversation.
They've gone
So
in that direction
I am
immediately. That's where they are now. The wrong
happy
direction.
to see that people are exercising their right.
Yep.
And you know,
Okay.
when they say the Insurrection Act, people protesting is not an insurrection.
Well, it's not
Correct.
storming
No,
the
it's
Capitol.
not.
It's people just protesting.
Yeah, but Whoopi,
so when he's
Right. Yeah, but how dare you call, guys, this is so disingenuous. Like, are they seeing the same thing we're seeing? Right? Again, I'm not sure the argument is, hey guys, don't protest. That's not the argument. Protest on the side of the road, right? Quiet. So you don't bother anyone else, right? Like, understand this here. Protest over there, out of the way, not in the middle of the street. You get what I'm saying here, guys? That's not protesting what they're doing here. And the fact that you perceive that to be protesting is absolutely psychotic.
So when he's saying he's going to
That's scary.
put that out, he's basically saying, you know, you are doing something that you're not doing, whether you're doing it or not. Just be aware.
Guys.
I just want people to be aware that, you know,
Right.
it is a difficult thing to do when they got their eyes on you.
But when on January 6th, when there was really an insurrection, which he encouraged and even may have promoted it,
That's what Jack Smith said, the special counsel.
he said basically the administration said that those people who are attacking police were tourists. Remember that? Yeah.
Bro, they were just as bad. Listen, I don't care about none of that stuff. Okay, I can't. What is right is legitimately right here. All right. When I see mob mentality, it's no longer a peaceful protest. I don't care what it is here. All right. We can have the argument until the end of days here, bro. All right. The moment I see mob mentality, groupthink, doing all types of absolute crazy wildness, I'm not going to back it under any circumstance. I don't care what side it comes from, bro. I don't care. What I'm looking at there and there, send National Guard.
So they will spin it and make it any way they
Yes.
want. So if you are a peaceful protester from the left,
This is
you are
not peaceful,
creating an
bro.
insurrection. If you're doing it from the right, you're a tourist. That's where they're at. That's why when you say we're not
logical
alone, I feel
fallacies.
very much alone because
know
I feel
you
like
do.
these institutions are not protecting us.
You know what? The institutions
Guys.
are. Our police forces, they are trying to do their jobs. Our
take their
police
mic.
guys, they are in the middle of how to deal with these folks who say they are in charge and how to do their jobs. You know, because
Yeah.
that's their job to protect us.
Yeah.
Bro, I'm not
So-
even listening anymore. I'm gonna go ahead and stop. I don't want to see this anymore. Okay, like listen, bro, I made it. All right, I made it to the end of this nonsense here, guys. Okay, listen, listening to whatever this was is an absolute train wreck. I would never watch this show. Okay, I'm just gonna be completely honest here. I don't know what they're talking about. The ability to look at something and see something completely different from what is being shown here is wild. I don't care about the emotions being added to a single thing. All right, look at the video. Okay, look at all of these things here. How dare you say for any time in your life, all right, that a protest is any more legitimately than someone standing on the side of the road with a sign that you can drive past and ignore. Okay, that's a protest. That's it. That's it. I'm telling you, that's a protest. If you want to protest, go ahead and stand over there behind the building and with your sign and do all those other things, bro. Because I'm telling you, the moment you obstruct my literal psyche for a second here, right? The moment you start to bother me with your volume, why do I have to be involved in your nonsense? I'm telling you, bro. I mean, obviously everyone looks at protesting differently, but yeah, I think protesting was you standing on the side of the road with a sign, quiet, right? Not to bother anyone's ears, not standing in the road, right? Not screaming at the top of your lungs. I don't know, not throwing all types of, random explosives at people. I don't think this is protesting. And the fact that you're saying that this is what protesting is in your head and then attempting to invoke Martin Luther King like he would side with modern day Democrats, you're crazy. Are you crazy? Like, have you read anything from him or about him other than what CNN shows during, like, on Martin Luther King Day? Like, do you know anything about the man? Okay? Like, I think maybe there's a good amount of people that need to probably read more. Make sure you dig into the words that he said specifically to make you understand that that's not who he was. Not like that. Not like this. Right? Not who that he's not who you perceive him to be specifically. Read more, research more, dig deeper. Because if you think that this was what it is here, and for the cause that you're protesting over, please read more.
Guys, do you want to watch movies with me? I never actually thought to like promote it over here, guys. But if you guys do want to watch it, guys, we have hundreds of movies, and I mean hundreds of movies that we've reacted to. You guys can come watch them with me if you want to, along with many TV shows. Currently, we're working on the show Dexter, along with Vikings. And we have a lot of series that are already completed. But if you guys do want to watch it with me, the link is in the description. Everything's available at the second tier. But of course, if that's not your thing, guys, don't worry. Right? Listen, like and subscribe.